All right, we're going to dig into an ancient text to uncover this really powerful and honestly kind of surprising blueprint for what makes a great leader. It's one of those things that's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Let's get into it.
I mean, we ask this question all the time, right? We look at CEOs, generals, political figures, trying to figure it out. But what if one of the most profound models for leadership isn't new at all? What if it's buried in the Old Testament? And here's the twist. What if that model has almost nothing to do with power or wealth or military strategy?
So our search starts in the book of Deuteronomy. The leader, Moses, he kind of sees the future, and he anticipates that one day the people of Israel are going to want a king, just like the nations around them. So he decides to get ahead of it, and he lays out a blueprint for what an ideal king should actually look like. Now, you'd think a rule book for a king would be all about how to build a bigger army or how to consolidate power, right? But nope. In Deuteronomy chapter 17, Moses gives these very specific and very different criteria for what will make a king truly successful and what will make his kingdom last. And this is the absolute core of it. Get this, the king's number one job wasn't commanding armies. It was to write his own personal copy of God's law and then read it, not just once in a while, every single day of his life. This was presented as the absolute key to his success. So why do all this? Well, the whole model for the ideal king is about being rooted in something bigger than himself. The goal was to keep him humble, so his heart wouldn't be lifted up above his own people, and it was to keep him focused, so he wouldn't turn to the right or to the left. This is a leadership model that's built on character, not on charisma.
But the story doesn't stop with kings. See, after Moses, the next great leader to step up is Joshua. And here's the interesting part. Joshua isn't a king. So does this blueprint just get tossed aside?
As Joshua takes command, God himself gives him his charge, his marching orders. And the instructions given to this new leader, who, remember, isn't royalty, well, they should start to sound incredibly familiar. It's almost like this model is a much broader template for any godly leader. And I mean, the connection is just undeniable when you put them side by side. Look at the language. The command not to turn to the right or to the left is almost identical. And where the king was told to read in it all the days of his life, Joshua is told to meditate on it day and night. The echo is just unmistakable.
So you see what's happening, right? The blueprint for success isn't just locked away for kings on a throne anymore. It's being passed on and applied to a completely new kind of leader. A military commander, a spiritual guide. The principle's expanding. It's becoming a universal key.
But the story doesn't stop there, and this is where it gets really fascinating. This connection between Deuteronomy and Joshua, it's not just a nice little coincidence between two books. It's actually a deliberate, structural key to understanding the architecture of the entire Hebrew Bible. Okay, so to see the full picture, you just need to know this one quick thing about how the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, is structured. It's traditionally organized into three big sections: the Law, which is the first 5 books, the Prophets, which includes books like Joshua, and the Writings, which has books like Psalms. And this is where the pattern just becomes incredible. So that first section, the Law, it ends with Deuteronomy establishing this leadership model. Then the very next section, the Prophets, it opens with the book of Joshua, applying that same model to its new leader. And if that wasn't enough, the third section, the Writings, it begins with Psalm 1 doing the exact same thing all over again. And just look at this, the opening to the Psalms, the first book of the Writings, it describes the ideal godly person. And how is their success defined? Their delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. That language is almost a direct quote from the charge to Joshua. This is absolutely intentional. So, what does this all mean? This incredible literary pattern, placed right at the beginning of each major section of the Old Testament, it's like it's shouting a central message about the true source of success. Let's just boil it down. This recurring blueprint gives us 3 keys. 1, constantly engage with the foundational source of wisdom, in this case, God's law. 2, practice humility. Recognize you are under a higher authority. And 3, maintain unwavering focus on that path without getting distracted. You know, what this all reveals is a really deliberate choice by the people who compiled the Old Testament. They intentionally structured their scripture to make this the opening theme for each major part. The message is crystal clear. Whether you're a king, a general, or just an ordinary person. True, lasting success comes from being continually guided and shaped by a source of wisdom that is greater than yourself.
And that leaves us with a fascinating question for today, doesn't it? This ancient model intentionally shifted the focus away from the leader's ego and put it squarely on an external text, a source of truth and wisdom. So what does that look like now? That text doesn't have to be scripture. It could be a nation's constitution, a company's founding mission statement, or a doctor's Hippocratic oath. In an age that's so driven by personality, what would it mean to be guided not by personal ambition, but by a foundational set of principles? A timeless blueprint for wisdom and humility.